Hello everyone, and let's talk about how generative AI offers a productivity revolution for associations. Now, having worked with a number of associations, I've seen that associations that adopt generative AI effectively become both internally much more effective and efficient and also adopt an industry leadership position for their members, among their members. AI can streamline operations, it can enhance staff and volunteer contributions, and it can help associations be seen as industry leaders. And there's a lot of research showing this. So there was a study by Harvard with the Boston Consulting Group showing that AI, generative AI tools, boost task speed by 25%. So 25% faster. And they improve output quality by 40%, as judged by objective external observers who don't know whether the task is done by a generative AI tool or a human tool. Now, this is for consultants, so it's pretty similar to the kind of work that's done within associations, knowledge work. So, complex, creative knowledge work, analytical work, this is the kind of stuff that associations do. So, you could do things like using chatbots to answer questions. You can use AI for event logistics. You can make faster and more polished, more high quality and faster, more efficiently done content creation for newsletters, marketing materials, policy briefs for legislators that you're trying to influence. Then you want to think about how you're going to integrate generative AI to do things like personalize content for members, personalize marketing materials to them, to segments of members, individual members, personalize educational materials for them. Maybe you want to learn about their background and personalize the kind of content offerings that you're going to offer to each individual member, or at least segments of members. The more information you have, the more you're able to customize. AI can really serve as a tool for you to get all of these benefits more efficiently and effectively. Now, as you're thinking about adopting generative AI, you want to make sure that you adopt it ethically and as well as effectively and efficiently. So focus on transparency in what you're doing, oversight, good oversight of AI, and making sure it's aligned with your organizational mission. So for example, AI can sometimes, of course, have misinformation. It can have illusions of various sorts. You've probably heard the term, polite term is hallucinations. So you really need to make sure that your staff are trained to spot situations where AI is likely to run into these issues and make sure that they can catch generative AI output that can be problematic. So you need to provide them with training. That's why I often do training for both the staff and volunteers and for members on generative AI usage. So that associations that want to be industry leaders, of course, need to train their members as opposed to train their staff and volunteers. Another nice thing about AI, so going back to what we talked about with the improvement in quality. So improvement in quality is quite dramatic, 40% on average across all skill levels. But the really interesting thing that the people with the lowest levels of skill improve the most. So you might have something like 60% improvement among the lowest people with the lowest levels of skills and 20% improvement of quality among people with the highest levels of skills. And let's be honest, the people with lower levels of skills in the kind of things that associations do tend to be volunteers. Associations are increasingly relying on volunteers in this time of needing to do more with less. And AI, generative AI, can actually help you get the most out of them by improving their skills the most. AI can even get some people who previously didn't think that they could be volunteers, they didn't have the skills to be volunteers. It can enable them to be volunteers because now their skills are good enough to actually be volunteers. That's great. So it turns your association into not only more efficient, but also a more inclusive organization. You also want to think about AI risks. So let's talk about those. How do you mitigate those? Short-term risks include bias, so problematic answers based on poorly provided data, data misuse, so make sure that there's good privacy, misaligned outputs, so outputs that are not what you want, so kind of hallucinations, all of that stuff. Longer-term risks can include humans losing control as generative AI becomes more and more advanced, which of course can be catastrophic, existential risk to humanity. So you want to make sure that you address such risks through governance tools like privacy solutions and bias audits in the short term. For the longer term, you want to have AI ethics committees that ensure alignment with human values and goals for your mission and humanity more broadly, because you as an association are of course a representative of a large number of professionals and you can have that influence. So responsible AI use, generative AI use, builds trust among members and sets an industry example for the companies, nonprofits, whoever are wherever your staff members tend to work, whether your actual members of your association tend to work, whether it's companies or nonprofits, government organizations, agencies. You want to make sure to set a good example for them. You want to also think about what kind of challenges you need to overcome. There's often challenges to generative AI adoption due to a lack of understanding among staff about what it will involve. Maybe they haven't even used generative AI at all. Maybe they're worried about sharing about their generative AI usage if you don't have an official policy on doing so. So you want to welcome them coming forward and sharing about what they've been doing, and you want to educate them on the benefits and best practices for generative AI usage. Have structured implementation plans to have scalable and sustainable growth, so piloting various techniques and approaches, case studies of generative AI, and then sharing the ones that work out well within certain departments, maybe certain sectors of your association, maybe chapters of regional chapter, and sharing them more broadly. So make sure that you are prioritizing AI literacy at all organizational levels among your staff, your volunteers, and your members. And so you want to think about how to make sure that you are an industry leader, showing the transformative potential of AI while using it effectively. So facilitate industry-wide training for your members on collaborative use of generative AI, advocate for policies that promote ethical and effective AI use, both, and establish benchmarks for your industry in what it means for your industry to be effectively and professionally and ethically using generative AI. Associations are facing a historic opportunity to lead and innovate with using generative AI. So you need to have both ethical and effective and efficient integration into your operational activities and educational activities. By guiding your own industry in AI adoption, associations will strengthen their influence and address the loss of membership that's definitely been seen unfortunately, among many associations, especially after the pandemic. So your success hinges on balancing the benefits of generative AI with transparent governance. If you have any questions about anything I've shared, please email me with your questions at gleb, Gleb, at disasteravoidanceexperts.com. Again, Gleb, Gleb, at disasteravoidanceexperts.com.